Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be talking to you about okra, from where it originated to how we prepare it in various dishes today. Um, it is believed that okra originated either in southwestern Asia, Ethiopia, or West Africa. It's possible that different varieties could have come from these places. It was brought to the United States sometime during the 1700s and ended up in the South by 1800. We still today enjoy okra in many ways. Um, Okra is a member of the mallow family. It's related to hibiscus and cotton. Um, Health benefits: okra contains potassium, which is great for our muscles, vitamins A, B, and C, folic acid, calcium, and it is high in fiber. It's also very good for our digestive system. Um, Okra prefers hot weather. It does really well in weather, say like in the 90s, but also over 100 degrees it does well. Um, if your climate doesn't get into the 90s, it's very possible that you may have a hard time growing okra in your area. Okra will grow in almost any kind of soil. Here at my house, I have kind of a dark brown clay soil. It's pretty tight, but okra does really well in my garden. My grandparents and my dad, they both had kind of sandy soil at their houses and their garden, and okra did very well there. Now, if you have heavier soil, you may not have to water it quite as often as if you have a more porous soil, okay? Before planting okra, you need to decide what you want to do with your okra, because sometimes that might affect what variety of okra you may want to plant. Clemson Spineless is one of the most popular varieties of okra, and it can be used for many things. You can fry it, pickle it, use it in soups and stews. You can also dehydrate it, roast it in the oven. So it's one of the most popular varieties overall. Another variety that has become very popular is jambalaya hybrid. And jambalaya hybrid starts producing okra very quickly. When it's about 1.5 feet tall, usually it will start putting on pods, and those pods can grow to about 5 inches long before they really need to be harvested. Where Clemson Spineless, you need to harvest them when they're 3 to 4 inches long, or they will get tough. Clemson Spineless okra, something I forgot to mention, also has very large leaves. This is one I picked off of my plant just a little bit ago, and about the same area of the plant on the jambalaya, I picked this one. So as you can see, it is much larger. Also, here is one of my Clemson Spineless okra pods that I didn't get picked in time, and it grew so big that now it's unusable for eating. Another variety that I'm growing this year is red Burgundy, and red Burgundy is a very pretty color, and even the stems of the red Burgundy okra kind of had that reddish color to them, and the leaves have the red veins. It's a very pretty plant. The blooms are beautiful, and they're a thinner pod okra, so they can actually grow a little bit longer than, say, a Clemson Spineless before you pick it, and it's still tender. One thing I have been told about the red Burgundy, though, is not to use it for pickling, because the pickling brine will drain the color out of the pods, and then the pod may not be as pretty. Star of David is another heirloom variety, and it's a beautiful okra, but you can't let it get very long before picking it, or it will get tough. It's well known for pickling by a lot of people, but the thing about Star of David is it is not a spineless variety. So if you have a hard time picking okra, if okra plants make you itch, you would definitely want to stay away from Star of David. Another variety I didn't mention is Louisiana Velvet. About 30 years ago, I had about an acre truck farm out by a pond, and that was the only okra seeds I could find was for Louisiana Velvet. So I said, okay, well, I'll give it a try, and I had beautiful okra plants. They grew to over 6 feet tall, long, green, smooth pods on them, just beautiful. But the first time I tried to pick okra, I broke out kind of like in whelps all over and was itching so bad I couldn't stand it. So I went and jumped in the pond to try to see if I could get all that off of my skin, and the water moccasins came after me. So I ran up and got in my truck and came home to take a shower and told my mother she would have to pick the okra from that point forward. But I wasn't really impressed with Louisiana Velvet as far as frying it goes, but I thought it was wonderful for making pickled okra. Okra needs warm temperatures to germinate. The soil needs to be no cooler than 70 degrees at night for the okra to germinate. If you plant your okra too early, the seeds will rot in the ground. My neighbor is a cotton farmer, and he told me he has always just planted his okra about the same time he's planted his cotton, and which is around the 1st of June here in southwest Oklahoma. Now, if you are just like in a hurry to get okra in the springtime, you can start your plants indoors about a month before you plant them in your garden. You can start them in mini greenhouses in your house or your greenhouse, and then when it's time to plant okra, when the soil's warm, where you would normally just be planting your seeds, you can go ahead and set out your okra plants. But you do need to space them 12 to 18 inches apart, because believe it or not, the stems on okra, they really spread out, and so you don't want the stems from your plants kind of mixing in with each other. It makes it harder to see the okra pods, and can also make it hard in some cases maybe for the plants to receive the fertilization they need. So of those varieties I mentioned, Clemson Spineless, Red Burgundy, and Star of David, they are all heirloom varieties. So if you grow any of those varieties, at the end of the growing season, you can let some of your pods just go to seed, let them dry out well, and then the next spring you will have seeds to plant for more of the same variety. But jambalaya is a hybrid, so you could still plant those seeds, but you will not end up with jambalaya. You will end up with some other variety of okra. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Okra needs very little fertilizer or no fertilizer. Most of the time your soil will be fertile enough to grow okra without any problems. And it doesn't need much water. Because of the fact that I have a heavy clay-like soil, I only need to water my okra about once a week. But if you have a sandy soil, you might need to water it a couple of times a week. Some people actually like to prune their plants. They say that it helps them see the okra pods easier, or maybe it might cut down on the itching from the plant. But I've never pruned my plants, and I don't think I ever will. If it bothers you to pick okra, just put on like a long sleeve shirt and wear some gloves, and it really doesn't take that long most of the time to pick your okra. when you harvest your okra, it's a good idea to to use a knife, like a pocket knife or a little kitchen paring knife, or kitchen shears, or you can even break off the pods. I just don't care for breaking them off. I prefer using my kitchen utility scissors for that. Um, Ways to prepare okra. There's so many ways. There's ways that I'm still finding out about that I've never done before. A lot of people like fried okra. You can eat fried okra hot, or you can use it. You can put it into salads. Some people like to steam their okra, or boil their okra, or roast their okra, which is something I'm still going to try. And you can even dehydrate okra. Dried okra is really good as a snack, or it can be dried for later use for soups and stews. And that gel inside okra, that sliminess of okra that a lot of us don't like, well, it's kind of nice when cooking, because if you use it in soups or stews, it helps to naturally thicken up your soup or stew so that you don't have to add cornstarch or flour. Recently I learned that fresh okra seeds can be used, can be pressed to make an oil to fry food in. I had never heard of that before. If any of you guys have ever heard of that, please let me know, because I would really like to learn more about that. Another thing that I read that was interesting is that during the Civil War, the okra seeds that were dried out were ground up to use in place of coffee when coffee was scarce. Now, it didn't provide any caffeine for anyone, but it did provide a hot drink, and I found that to be pretty interesting as well. If you enjoyed my video today, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my videos. Also, I have a Facebook page called Garden Lady Zoe. On my Facebook page, I post pictures from my garden, and I post recipes for some of the dishes that I make with the vegetables from my garden. So please join my Facebook page as well. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know in the comments section. I hope this video helped some of you who have never grown okra. I learned a lot putting it together, so I always know it's a good day when I learn something new. So I hope you all have a good day, and see you next time.